Ever wondered how silence could possibly roar louder than any shout? In our world, buzzing with constant noise and chatter, there lies a hidden, powerful statement in choosing silence. It's not about the absence of sound, but a deliberate choice that screams intention, wisdom, and strength. Imagine discovering that amidst the chaos, your silence holds the power to command attention, influence outcomes, and spark change. Welcome to the quiet revolution, where silence that roars becomes your most profound tool for impact. Join us on this journey to unlock the roaring power of silence, a journey that promises to transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. Are you ready to let your silence roar? Here are the powerful traits that people who speak less possess. 1. Strategic advantage. In the realm of strategy, silence isn't merely absence of noise. It's a powerful tool, a stealthy ally in the dance of dialogue and negotiation. Imagine walking into a high-stakes business meeting. The air is thick with anticipation, every participant eager to tip the scales in their favor. Now, picture yourself choosing a different path, the path of silence. While others rush to fill the void, to assert their presence with a barrage of words, you sit back, a silent observer. Your silence acts as a mirror, reflecting the room's dynamics, revealing more than words ever could. As the conversation unfolds, your counterparts, in their eagerness to fill the silence, disclose key insights, unwittingly handing you the advantage. You've secured a favorable deal without a battle of words, simply by harnessing the strategic power of silence. This is the essence of a Stoic principle in practice. The more you know, the less you need to say. It's not about withholding, but about understanding that true power often lies in what we choose not to reveal. In silence, you find the upper hand, turning every observation into a step towards victory. 2. Aura of mystery. In a world where everyone is rushing to be heard, there's a secret weapon that sets some apart: the aura of mystery, cultivated through the power of silence. When you speak less, each word you choose becomes a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your persona, intriguing those around you and drawing them closer, eager to uncover the depths beneath your quiet surface. Picture this: a social gathering where voices clamor for attention, a mosaic of stories and laughter. Yet, in this tapestry of sound, one individual stands out, not for the noise they make, but for their serene quietude. Their selective engagement, the thoughtful pause before they speak, turns heads, sparking curiosity and whispers. Who is this enigmatic figure who speaks so sparingly, yet so profoundly? This is the essence of an ancient Stoic belief. Silence is a fence around wisdom. Your silence doesn't just shield your wisdom, it enhances it, creating a mystique that invites others to lean in, listen more intently when you do decide to share. In embracing silence, you become a beacon of intrigue, your words gaining the power to impact more deeply. This isn't just silence, it's a strategy, a way of moving through the world that attracts more genuine attention and respect. 3. Mastery of listening. In the cacophony of daily life, where everyone is vying to be heard, the true art of listening becomes a rare and cherished skill. It's an art that flourishes in the rich soil of silence. By choosing to speak less, we open ourselves to the world's subtleties, the slight quiver in a voice that reveals nervousness, the pause that says more than words ever could, the layers of meaning woven into a simple sentence. This isn't just listening, it's an empathetic journey into the hearts and minds of those around us. Imagine a simple scenario. You're in a bustling cafe, amidst the aroma of coffee and the hum of conversation. A friend sits across from you, unraveling a tale of personal triumph and tribulation. Here, you make a choice, not to rehearse your next line, but to truly listen. Your silence becomes the stage on which their story unfolds, your nods and smiles the encouragement they need to bare their soul. It's in this moment of genuine connection that the essence of your relationship deepens, sculpted by the empathy and understanding in your attentive silence. Reflecting on this, remember the Stoic wisdom. Listen well, for in listening lies wisdom. It's a profound reminder that wisdom isn't merely about amassing knowledge or articulating thoughts eloquently. True wisdom blooms in the quiet spaces between words, in the deep understanding that comes from listening, really listening. By embracing silence, we don't just hear, we connect, we understand, and through this, we grow. This is the mastery of listening, a path to wisdom paved with silence and empathy. 4. Enhanced perception. In the whirlwind of daily interactions, where words fly fast and furious, there's a hidden superpower that few harness, the power of silence. It's not just the absence of sound, it's a potent tool that sharpens our perception, enabling us to catch the subtleties often lost in the noise. When we choose to speak less, we gift ourselves the space to truly observe, to notice the hesitant pause behind a confident statement, the unguarded smile that speaks volumes, the tension that lingers like an uninvited guest. This silent observation reveals layers of reality that go unnoticed by the chatter-focused mind, enhancing our intuition and our ability to understand the world in all its complexity. Imagine this: you're stepping into a room, the stage set for an important meeting. While the air buzzes with pre-meeting chatter, you pause, stepping back into a cocoon of observation. The room speaks to you, not in words, but in body language, in exchanged looks, in the atmosphere charged with unspoken dynamics. This silent vigil equips you with a roadmap of the meeting ahead, guiding you to address the undercurrents and weave a path toward collective goals. Reflect on this Stoic insight. In silence, the world speaks. In stillness, we understand. It's a powerful reminder that true understanding comes not from constant discourse, but from the quiet observation and reflection that silence allows. Through silence, we gain the clarity to see beyond the surface, uncovering the deeper truths hidden in plain sight. 5. Eloquence in economy. This principle isn't about silencing your voice, but about honing it, crafting each sentence with the care of a master sculptor. When you choose your words with precision and intention, you're not just talking, you're communicating in a way that leaves a lasting impact. This economy of speech turns your dialogue into a beacon of clarity and purpose, making your words resonate more profoundly with those around you. Imagine this: you're in the midst of a heated discussion, a complex problem begging for a solution. The room is a storm of suggestions, a whirlwind of voices clamoring to be heard. When it's your turn to speak, you take a breath, a moment of pause that draws the room's attention. Your response, succinct and insightful, cuts through the noise like a beacon, guiding the conversation to new depths. It's not the volume of your words, but their value that shifts perspectives and influences outcomes. Reflect on this Stoic wisdom. Let your words be few, but filled with depth. It's a reminder that true eloquence isn't measured by the quantity of our speech, but by its quality. In embracing the eloquence of economy, we learn that the most powerful messages often come in the simplest packages, echoing in the minds and hearts of those we reach. 6. Inner calm. In our fast-paced, always-on world, finding a moment of quiet can feel like discovering an oasis in a desert. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's a powerful tool for unlocking inner peace. When we allow ourselves to step away from the cacophony of daily life and embrace the stillness, we embark on a journey inward. This isn't about escaping reality, but confronting it with clarity and serenity. In these moments of silent introspection, we sift through our thoughts and emotions, separating the wheat from the chaff, and uncover the calm that resides deep within us. Picture this. Your day is a whirlwind of tasks, deadlines, and demands, each moment cascading into the next, with barely a pause for breath. Feeling the weight of the world, you find a quiet corner, a brief respite from the storm. Here, in this sanctuary of silence, you take a deep breath, and as you exhale, the chaos begins to fade. It's in this stillness that you reconnect with your core, your true self, untangling the knots of stress and expectation. This moment of tranquility doesn't just alter your day, it transforms your approach to life. The Stoics knew this well, teaching us that in the heart of silence lies peace. This wisdom echoes through the ages, reminding us that the quest for inner calm begins not in seeking external solutions, but in turning inward, finding solace in the quietude of our being. It's a timeless reminder that peace is a state of mind, accessible anytime, anywhere, if only we pause to embrace it. 7. Self-control. In the dance of daily interactions, the music often speeds up, pushing us towards quick, reactive steps. Yet there's a strength, an underestimated power in choosing to pause, to remain silent. This isn't a passive act, it's a profound exercise in self-control. Silence becomes the space where we can breathe, think, and decide, not based on the heat of the moment, but on the cool, calm collectedness of our inner wisdom. It's in these pauses, these deliberate moments of quiet, that we truly become masters of our own responses, steering our lives with intention rather than impulse. Imagine being on the receiving end of sharp words, a situation that could easily spiral into a storm of anger and regret. Here, you find your power not in the words you hurl back, but in the silence you choose. This silence is your fortress, giving you the room to process, to sift through emotions, and find your true voice, one that speaks from calm clarity, not from the chaos of the moment. The Stoics taught us, control over oneself is the ultimate freedom. In mastering the art of silence, we find the keys to this kingdom of self-control. It's a reminder that our greatest strength lies not in how loudly we can shout, but in how quietly we can reflect, choosing responses that align with our deepest values. This self-mastery is the truest form of freedom, liberating us from the chains of knee-jerk reactions and guiding us towards a life led by purpose and peace. 8. Depth of character. In the tapestry of human interaction, it's easy to overlook the quiet ones, those who speak sparingly but with profound impact. Yet, it's in the silence that depth of character is cultivated, a testament to the rich inner life that thrives on introspection and wisdom. This isn't about shyness or reservation, it's about a profound sense of self, a comfort in one's own being that doesn't seek external approval but finds fulfillment from within. Picture this. You're the person in the group who doesn't always jump into the fray of conversation, but when you do speak, everyone listens. Your words aren't just heard, they're felt, resonating with a depth that only comes from careful listening and reflection. People seek your counsel, not for quick fixes, but for the thoughtful insights that you offer. Your presence is a calm in the storm, a reminder that wisdom doesn't shout to be acknowledged, it simply is. Reflecting on this, we're reminded of the saying, "The deepest rivers flow in silence." It's a beautiful metaphor for the depth of character. Just as the deepest waters don't roar but flow quietly, the most profound personalities aren't always the loudest in the room. They are the ones who, through their serene and thoughtful approach to life, reveal a strength and wisdom that runs deep, enriching not just their lives, but the lives of all who cross their path. 9. Personal growth. In the relentless hustle of everyday life, where silence is often drowned out by the clamor of constant activity, there lies a hidden key to transformation, the power of embracing silence for personal growth. Silence, far from being empty, is rich with the potential for introspection and self-discovery. It's in these quiet moments that we can truly hear the whispers of our deepest desires and confront the shadows of our fears, carving a path towards a more authentic self. Imagine embarking on a journey, not to distant lands, but inward, where the most profound discoveries await. A person finds themselves at a crossroads, their dreams obscured by the noise of doubt and expectation. Choosing to embrace silence, they delve into the depths of their being, finding there the clarity and confidence that had been elusive in the cacophony of daily life. With each silent moment, they forge a stronger connection to their inner voice, emerging with a newfound resolve to pursue their dreams with purpose and passion. Reflecting on this journey, we're reminded of Nietzsche's profound insight. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. This echoes the Stoic principle that true strength and purpose are often found in the quiet contemplation of silence. It's here, in the embrace of our silent moments, that we uncover the resilience to navigate life's challenges and the courage to chase our dreams, powered by the unshakable knowledge of our why. As we've journeyed together, exploring the profound depths and unexpected power of silence, we've discovered it's not just the absence of noise, it's a silence that roars. This silent roar shapes our interactions, carves our paths, and defines our very essence, proving that true strength and wisdom often lie in the quiet moments, in the choices we make about when to speak and when to embrace the stillness. If this message resonated with you, if you've felt the stirring of your own silent roar within, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Let's spread the word that in the realm of noise, the most powerful statement we can make is often found in our silence. Together, let's continue to explore the vast, unspoken worlds within us and around us. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a chance to join the conversation, to learn, grow, and discover the roaring power of silence. Are you ready to let your silence roar?